Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the latest magnificent spectacle. I keep forgetting what it's called, the Blue Zone. And this time we're going to be taking a look at how you can beat to cut a long story short, how you can beat the really interesting Master Roshi fight. Now, good old Master Roshi, to cut a long story short, is two phases. So these fights are very different to the DBS edition. The DBS edition kind of benefited from having longer fights. So longer fights against super enemies that players could kind of deal with. In this one, this is not the case. These actually start out a little bit tougher. So they start out like a little bit harder. And at least the first two fights so far, or the first couple fights, are very short. So we have Master Roshi and Tien, pretty straightforward, nullifying ceiling, nullifying attack reduction, nullifying immunity to being stunned, or sorry, they have immunity to being stunned, and they hit like a 1.5 million super, and they have like a 600k attack stat. Not anything too crazy, but ultimately at the end of the day, pretty tough. They start out pretty strong, they have a fair chunk of health as well, and they can also stun you with their super, which is probably the big thing that's quite annoying here. Stunning with supers isn't always necessarily annoying from a damage point of view. For example, if you have Beast Gohan or a super tanky unit in the first slot, chances are you're not too worried about like taking damage, but what you are worried about is doing damage. And when you have your top units always being stunned, it's a little bit frustrating to have to deal with that. So that's something that can be quite annoying. Not a deal breaker, but definitely something that I would probably say I'm not the biggest fan of overall. Then from the tech Master Roshi and Tien portion, you move into the physical Master Roshi portion, and this one's also very interesting because he greatly raises his attack for one turn, but here he can be sealed, so he can do some pretty interesting attack stats and things, but he can be sealed, which I think ultimately is actually a very important factor to consider. So you may want to consider bringing units like that into your situation so that you can obviously have a bit of a better time. Now I'm going to be honest with you, to cut a long story short, this team build that I went was pretty stable. The reason why I like this one is mainly because of the strength right out the gate. So certain teams have a better scalability. So when you're facing a boss that, for example, starts off weak but ends up strong, you want to obviously bring characters that scale incredibly well. Then you'll have teams where you have characters that start off incredibly strong, or very strong, and then get progressively, or stay about the same. I should say, I was going to say get progressively weaker, but that's not what you want. But stay around about the same. Now, this Super Bosses is kind of a team like that, because the thing is, ultimately with Super Bosses, you definitely have to consider the fact that, okay, obviously we start out very strong. We don't have a lot of super high scalability. Maybe Zamasu, like AGL Zamasu builds up, but a lot of the units, your Broly Chilai Lemo, Broly himself, the AGL one, just in general, like a lot of the units don't scale big time into like infinite scaling or anything. They're not going crazy into infinite scaling. They're not doing nut stuff in terms of like that level of getting huge defensive boosts by constantly supering or anything like that. So that is something that I'd say is probably the most important. Aside from that though, realistically speaking, this team did pretty well. Super Bosses tended to handle itself pretty well. I was quite happy with how everything worked out with Super Bosses. I was not upset with anything. I think the Goku Blacks and the Broly's kind of make a really nice combo. We have Zamasu there, and we just had a really strong starting foundation that I think ultimately led to us having a really good time. So I think all in all, I would have to say, for me at least, I was pretty happy with how the team did. I think Broly, Chila, and Lemo, excellent choice. Kefla is huge for the second phase. Obviously we're facing a physical type character, so being able to just kind of do insane levels of strength damage, I think is super duper important. So that for me was a very big, I don't want to say like mandatory unit, but I think Kefla is the one unit that I think you can just kind of throw on because hey, they do like a ton of damage, and you can be like, okay, wow, that was really cool. So like for me, Kefla definitely felt like a almost, I want to say, an almost must have. Just so good and really consistent, and just really solid. So I was very happy with that, if I'm being entirely honest with you. And I think it all came to a head really nicely, and the team all worked out really solid. Of course, we then used the Broly's and their active skill against the physical Master Roshi, because obviously we want that accelerated damage, super important. But I think overall, like generally speaking, we're just looking at a really strong foundation. I think when you look at the functionality of like Super Bosses, and when you look at fights like the Master Roshi, that ability to start off strong, stay strong, and then just do good damage is underrated. I think overall, some of the super units take time to build up. Ultimate Gohan, even Gogeta to a certain extent, whereas the extreme units, at least on Super Bosses, feel like hey, they just kind of come out, they do their business. Yes, they have a ceiling, or they have weaknesses that players might not notice, but I think generally speaking, at least for me, they function incredibly well. So I was very happy with everything that happened here. Goku Rosé, really nice, good augmented damage. Goku Black, great pseudo support / great scalability with being a hit and his orbs and healing and just all that sort of stuff, really functioning nicely. Like I said, Kefla, huge in terms of damage, which is massive and was just incredibly helpful. And then outside from that, that's basically it. To be honest with you, it was actually really just a fun event, and I enjoyed kind of bringing everything together really nicely. So yeah, but Kefla, definitely a absolute monstro when it comes to the damage, and I think overall for me, a really good unit to use in these kind of scenarios. Not only through her just raw strength that she has, but just in general, she's like just good. You know what I mean? Like whenever you got a unit that your logic is, why is she there? Well, she's just really good. I think is just fairly cool. And like I said, she's very easy to use. She doesn't need a lot. She's not conditional like other Universe 6 units. So running her was not difficult to do. And when you bring in that much damage, I just don't see a reason in not catering to that. So I was very happy with everything about this. And Kefla and the team just kind of rounded everything else out really nicely. And as you can see, Kefla finished off everything for us. So all in all, I was very happy, and I think a lot of players will be very happy as well. But that's it from me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like. It's always appreciated, and bye.